morning, everybody. Welcome to the 13th event of Eforeus. Well, we are in the last mile of the event because this is we will have only one event left that will be held in Sicily, in Caltagirone, in the end of June. So this is the second event that we organize in Malta, of course, virtually, because we think that it is really interesting to underline much better the situation in Malta, that how we called during the project presentation is the South Gate of Europe. And in Malta is the island that more than other face the refugees crisis in the Mediterranean, together with Greece and Italy. Just let me introduce very briefly the project for the one that never see our event before. So for the people that is the first time that join our activity, just give me a second to share the content. So okay, now you should see my screen. Okay. How you can see, this is the project Action for Europe of Solidarity. Is a project that is coming to the end phases, I already said, and is a project that try to underline, to stress, to give another point of view about the immigrations, about the refugees, about the solidarity thematics. We organize 13 events hands now so far. So how you can see in my screen, we have done, I think we did a great job together with the partners of the project. We started last November in Mazara del Vallo. The second event was organized always from the Maltese partner, very good organization. All the partners put gave a great collaboration to organize, to collect, and to invite a distinguished speaker that very well described and presented the situation in the territories involved. The third event was in Poland, then Montenegro, Greece, Albania, Spain, Poland again, in Rome, in Brussels. That was the first experiment of hybrid events, so physical event and virtual event. Was the only occasion that we have that, according with the general legislation about the COVID pandemic, it was the only event we hope that we can organize the event Albania, and again now in Malta. How you can see in my own screen, we're not only event, but we try also to prepare for the participants virtual meeting. In which way? For one, through videos, so to a video that describe the situation, describe the characteristics of the territories involved. Second, you some videos. No. Wait a second, just to show you where you can find the videos. Okay. For some reasons. Sorry, maybe I had some internet problem. Maybe later I show you the video, it's better. And if you are ready, Julia, I would like to give you the floor to introduce our panelist, and so we can start with the presentation.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Daniela. One of our panelists is joining. The link wasn't working, but I will send it again. Welcome, good morning, and welcome to the 13th event, as Daniela has already said. This is the second event held in Malta and organized by the FTZ.com. Between the 1st January and the 28th February of 2021, 65 persons disembarked in Malta, and now there has been a 93% decrease in sea arrivals compared to the same time last year. However, these results might not reflect reality because this was during the COVID-19 pandemic. And out of the asylum applications and decisions in January 2021, the current rate of international protection, the refugee or subsidiary protection status, is 1% of total decisions. And it is almost World Refugee Day for 2021. And for this conference, we decided to focus on the initial reception and open centers and the more immediate events upon arrival that are faced upon arrival. And today's conference is called A Reception and Open Centers, a solution to welcome or control migrants arriving on our shores. Before we begin, there are just a few definitions. There are 4 different types of centers. There's the closed center, the open center, and the initial reception center. Now, the closed center is generally the preferred jargon used to refer to centers housing immigrants whose liberty is limited. And often this is also distinguished, it's a distinction based on the length of the procedure. Then there are open centers, which according to the Ministry for Home Affairs and National Security, an open center is a key part of the reception management, and it offers accommodation and facilities which people can access by service users to mainstream services such as free health and free education. Then lastly, there are the initial reception centers, which is the structure to implement the government's policy not to detain minors. So upon arrival, the service users would undergo primary age assessment and medical clearance, and then they would proceed to the open centers. There are currently 4 centers like this. There are the Safi Barracks, which have several different facilities. There are the Leicester Barracks and the China House. I will now introduce the first speaker, who is the project coordinator of the African Media Association, Livingstone Ngetuni, and he obtained a Master's of Science in International Studies from the University of Siena in Italy. And he also has a postgraduate diploma in ethics from the University of Malta and a higher diploma in human resources, as well as a diploma in office management and a Bachelor of Education, specifically in world history and world religions from the Moi University in Kenya. He also is responsible for various projects, including the IDLM, which focuses on tackling illegal immigrants and migrations with a particular emphasis on Senegal. There's the Upgrade Me project, which focuses on upgrading migrant skills using the NACE system, and the Success Stories RAS project, which highlights the success stories of migrants in Malta. And lastly, he was also the main speaker at the conference for the Anti-Racism Unit under the Human Rights Directorate, which focused on education and particularly the push and pull factors hindering migrant education in Malta in 2020. Thank you, and I can pass the floor on to our first speaker.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm going to present. Just a minute. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and good morning. As my name has been introduced, I'm Livingston Ngetui. I'm from Kenya, and I've been in Malta for the last 3 years now. And my profile has already been read there, so I don't want to go back there. Thank you so much for Action for Europe of Solidarity and what you guys are doing. It's very interesting, and it's very important to know that there are some organizations which are really fighting for this the issue of migrants. So my topic today, I'm talking about migration, detention, and open centers, as Julia has mentioned. We all know that migration is the movement of people from one place to another because or in search of social, economic, political, or environmental reasons. And the migration normally can be either internal, that is the movement within country from point A to point B. It can also be either rural or urban migration. Migration has been a history and it has been there for several years, and it's here and it will be here for years to come. Only it depends on the dimensions of this migration. There is international migration, that is the movement of people from one country to another across the border. And also migration can be either voluntary or involuntary. Voluntary in this aspect is the situation in which one individual chooses to migrate, whereas involuntary, the migrant has no option but to move. Then there is temporary migrants who move for a short period of time and then they move. And this normally they are classified as the IDPs, the displaced persons. Now, the reasons why people migrate historically, it's either through because of push or pull factors. When we talk of the push factors, these are the factors which makes people to move because of maybe war, civil war, drought, famine, lack of jobs, natural disaster, or persecution. Whereas pull factors, these are the factors which attract an individual to a particular place in search of better healthcare, better standards of living. It can be because of safety or higher wages, among other reasons. Now, when these migrants decide to move from their country of origin, as we are talking about detention, reception, and the open centers. So the journey, I'm just giving a brief history of the migration. Now, so many people have, so many routes have been identified as the options which people normally use to migrate from the country of origin in search of a better place or in search of refuge. Now, the most common one is through the Kalahari Desert or the deserts in the northern part of Africa. That is through Libya and eventually through the deadly Mediterranean Sea. I'm talking about the Africans in particular because I'm representing African Media Association in this regard. So based on the focus group, which we held last month, as Julia was talking about the ideal me, we are working on a project which is focusing on the migrants from Senegal. And in this regard, we held a focus group. The stakeholders were the corporate social organizations, lawyers, government stakeholders, and the diaspora community. It emerged clearly that diaspora community, those are the ones who are in Europe, plays a very significant role in this issue of human trafficking. They are the ones who identify the people who, who make these people to decide to migrate. At the same time, it also emerged clearly that there is less diplomatic ties with the country of origin and the destination. For example, if you look at Malta in particular, there is, I think there is only one country, that is Ghana, which has an embassy here, which represent most of the West African countries. So there is less diplomatic ties with the country of origin and the destination. The traffickers, smugglers are people who are well known. These are the people who are maybe those who were deported from Europe. They went back home and they give a different version of the story that Europe is there is life. To those who have been deported and settled back home, tend to use the wrong information to acquire more funds or traffic the unsuspecting youth. Now, upon arrival in Malta, people normally disembark from the sea, they are being rescued, and you can imagine the shock in which they receive. The shock is unexplainable. The imagination, whatever they were told and what they get here is totally different. People are normally held for weeks, months, even years in prisons or in detention centers awaiting the processing of their documents. And as I've mentioned about the lack of diplomatic ties, so if you come from a country where your country is not represented, in particular in Malta, then the situation is worse even to mention. So the conditions in detention and cells are was just to mention about because I've never been there, but I know the situation based on what I've researched, even on the report which was tabled last year. There is no access to basic services. To mention that a few soap, toothpaste, the place to shower is in a very bad state. Lack of privacy, as some of these people are crammed with in small rooms with beds. The temperatures are cold in winter. I can imagine this situation of summer. It's so hot in the room. I don't think if they have even fans in their room. The lights are always on 24 hours. And then there is minimal or no way in which the sick are separated from those who are healthy. We are in the situation of the coronavirus, the COVID. I can imagine the situation which was there. These people are facing death, both in the sea and in the reception center and in the detention centers. There is also use of excessive force by the detention authorities, disease, life, flu, among other things. Now, after that, there is processing of the documents. Then they are taken or observed at the open center, the reception centers. These are the centers offering accommodation and facilitating access to the mainstream services such as health and education. Can you hear me once again, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello? Now, reception centers or open centers have been mandated to AWAS, which is responsible for implementing government policy regarding this service. They are mainly responsible for pre-integration by offering vital information as stated above, such as housing, health, education, employment, among other activities. Now, it is very important also to say that most of these things or these policies are just in paperwork or they have just been put there, but implementation is dismal. For example, there are so many myriad challenges faced by these migrants at the open centers. The system to integrate migrants in the mainstream societies are fluid. there is minimal, because there is the systemic problem in itself has been in place. There is lack of policy to integrate migrants. There is no proper long-term policy to integrate these migrants. They are normally subjected to sign a contract which lasts for 9 months. And you can imagine the language barrier of these migrants. Most of them they don't speak English. Maybe 0.1% only speak English. The rest, they don't speak English. So there is a lot of things which needs to be done, not mentioning about the young children. The transition from open-centered society is the major problem. The social workers are inexperienced in terms of cultural backgrounds of these migrants they are working with. I've mentioned about the language barrier, which is the biggest challenge, not only in Malta, but across Europe, because if you don't speak language, I think the only easiest way, country which they can easily integrate is France, because most of these West Africans speak French. Psychological problems, and lack of proper support in these open centers to these migrants. As we give an example of what happened last year, where there were some Sudanese who were forced to move out of open centers and they were living at the gate of Valletta. Finding job is a problem. There is, not to mention the issue of racism, exploitation in the black market, among the issue of the lack of housing, among other things. Now, just to conclude, I just want to mention some few recommendations which I identified, which could help, as we are talking about action for Europe of solidarity. There is a need to have a long-term government policy to integrate migrants in the mainstream society, because they are part and integral of the community. And in this case, the issue of, the need to employ more social workers, especially from the qualified PCL of the migrant community, who understand the cultural background of these people, or the social workers need to be given a training on the cultural background of these people so that they know exactly the needs of these people. There is the need to shift the approach of handling migrants and treat them as not criminal offenders. Hence, there is no need to hold them in prison-like conditions out of harsh situations. Upgrade the state of the facilities at the detention centers, and then offer them language lessons, even when they are in detention center. It will help a lot when they come out of this detention center. And there is a need to have a prayer space, because most of them, they are Muslims, they need to have a prayer space, and also to access to basic services like newspapers, TV channels, to know what is happening around the world. Thank you so much, and I hope I mentioned something which is within the line, but I'm expecting maybe there are questions, then I will be able to answer. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Before we move on to the next speaker, I actually do have a question for you. It is very often comments in the media are not sympathetic towards migrants' issues. How do you try to counter these negative attitudes of many members of the public?
Come up again, please.
Sorry. Very often comments in the media are not sympathetic towards migrants' issues. How do you try to counter these negative attitudes of many members of the public?
Well, yeah, one of the reasons, and I think to mention about the reason why even we are facing this big issue of the migrants is the media. Media is playing a very great role in this. The society themselves don't understand what is happening. But once they have been implemented, once the picture has been shown in the media, it shows a different thing. And in this case, we are talking about the image of Africans has been destroyed totally. What they speak about is totally from what is happening on the ground. And in this case, we African Media Association, we are trying as much as possible, because one of our key objectives is bringing positive news of Africa to the world. We want to change the narrative in which Africans have been, the way the continent of Africa has been shown in the whole world. We want to change the narrative, and we want to speak about the true aspect. And it is very important also to speak about the true story of what is happening among the migrants. And as you can see, the issue of the success stories which we are running, towards the World Refugee Days. There are success stories, as you mentioned there. We are looking at the migrants who have positively integrated in the Maltese culture, so that people know that not all migrants are bad. You know, there are people who are here honestly and they are doing honest things, and they need support with the society. So try to change their narratives. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure if there are any other questions, or else I can move on to the next speaker.
There aren't any other questions for the moment, so I think we can move to the next speakers.
Okay, okay. The next speaker is a representative of the Eritrean community in Malta, the Eritrean refugees community in Malta. It is not the speaker who is mentioned in the agenda. Unfortunately, that speaker couldn't be with us today because of work, the work roster, but we have another speaker who will be sharing his experience. Thank you.
Thank you. It was very short notice, but I very thank you to give me the opportunity to speak up on behalf of the Eritrean community. And my name is Haptom. I'm from Eritrea, and I have been living for almost 5 years. And I'm studying graphic design and multimedia at MCAT. And my experience been like living in Malta as immigrant is because I experienced like discrimination. It could be a different stage. Brother, he mentioned very well, and then I wouldn't add a little bit more, but I have to a little bit to discuss about and the perspective of the Eritreans, what difference, back home in the east of Africa and like in the Horn of Africa, because I am from Eritrea and we have the biggest issue, which is not like a dictatorship from our government, which is not like our government have been for 30 years in the prison, and because we came out and like we flee ourselves like from Eritrea, because I even wasn't like underage, but it was difficult for me, like to get from our country. So it was like there is no freedom in Eritrea, which is not like helping the young people in order to they can study or they can work or they can go whatever they are choosing, but they will choose for you in order to go whatever you needed. They will choose for you in order to study, and they choose for you to go on the military service even though you don't want it. So that was like the motivation. All of the Eritreans, they flee out of the country, even the discrimination and like between the you don't have basic rights to stand up for yourself. And also that maybe you could remember if one of and some of you like in 2004 there were Eritrean refugees who applied and like who fled towards I don't know, they came to Malta and then Malta deported them to Eritrea, and those people have been like beaten up in prison and they prisoner for long and it's unknown then like without no limit days or years they have been there in prison. And as you can see, maybe you will see it in like types of Malta is all there in it because of the what's happening, because like sometimes you will see, oh, there is human rights, basic human right for refugee, but there isn't in practice. Like sometimes we would see when you see like this, like make you like there's no human's right, but at somehow after that, like in 2018, 2013, 14, it become Malta becomes, I think like we get familiar with the immigration, and also had like they give them the opportunity to give the apply for refugees or for everything, like for to be access or integrate with Maltese, with the Maltese society. But I was going to talk about like based on when I came to Malta and what's my experience in Malta. And when I came to 2016, 2016 on October, and I was underage. I was 17, and guys, how it's hard when you are underage and like crossing the desert and the Libyans and also the Mediterranean Sea. And it was hard for me, like since I was in like I wasn't even thinking in my whole mind, like I just go whatever it takes me with the boat, and you don't even know if it's gonna be survive or not. So you just have like uh, just like 25% if you're gonna be live it's gonna be alive, but there's no 50-50 in this chance because like even you will come up like for the desert will be almost we died in for 11 days like stay in the desert, and then you don't have the choice like to choose even though you came out with small data 26 people and small I don't know, it's like it's called trailer, and they use it of the desert which are is it very basically it will handle if the proper people in it, if it will handle the back of Twitter, and it doesn't like 32% like on top each, and you like you will be in flat and they stack each other. So, but having that is my experience, through the trauma. Even though I came in, I was in I was in Fugra, and it was hard. And when it came arriving at like to Malta, you feel that you are alone. You're not welcome to the country, and also that you isolated from society. You don't even know the language. But in my case, I already know like it's taken in English, but I have the ability not like or to engage in communication in order to I think to talk about my feeling. But I had another friend which is not like they don't have the ability to speak up or they can explain what they are experienced for it, even like to express themselves or their feeling or to write it to speak up for their rights. But even there is no platform in order to speak like for your right, like it is very difficult for me, even for the rest of the immigrant. Even like I have been studying for 4 years, and then there is a problem which is like uh, of course there is the good side, but the bad side. But I would say I would have to acknowledge that like also it's very have been good for me, and it's like because I have been studying and I also that finished all my courses in here in Malta, and at the same time even you have the qualification to apply for a job, but if it's also difficult, get accepted by the employee, anyone. So doesn't matter how qualified I, but it doesn't matter for them. That like they will judge you based off your shade, which is my color, and also that like in terms of 2017, 18, immigrant have been in like came into Malta, but at this time it's when I was came in and it was good, I think compared to now, but now it becomes worse, I would say that. And a refugee become like put in prison in detention for 6 months, and then without no judgment, without no frame time, like just going there. Someone would be for 1 year, someone would be for 3 months, someone would be for 6 months. I don't even know what's happening with this, but I don't even know. We ask a question for love, but we have no just shut down in front of us, and like there's no answer for it. We're still waiting for answers. And having said that, like be people who need like they have been this immigrant, like they are underage, overage, women, children's, as a brother here will mention it before. They have been, they have been so difficult in their life, like have been in, I know the feeling because I have been there. when I was, if a person have been in Libya, and the grief, and then the emotional feeling, which is you feel always that like you're alone and you're not welcome anymore until the country you came from. But I would say that like these people, they have not like, because is it physically and mentally like trauma, which is not, they need help, not just in the physical or like economic, but they need who can help them like a therapy, and then like they need to uh, they can help them to speak up, and then like to uh, tell their stories to the rest of the world, and they can feel that more accepted. uh, and also there are like people who live in Halfa, who need very needed, and it's like to be assisted and the medical, which is they have a health issue, and but they give them, they apply, they told them like it's gonna be they send them to Saturday, but they give them the appointment over appointment. It's been enough for 1 year, but the person has particularly, I know one of Eritreans has a problem, which is his testicle, and then like I don't know how can I say that, but this problem affect him his feet, which makes them shorter than the other feet. The whole body. I think he has also a pain in his back, but they gave him like appointment over appointment for 1 year, but he's still in pain. And then like, and he's still like hoping, okay, today will be okay. I think that would be, and like he go to pain to go to sleep by bed, and then he's still pain like with the pain. He work out with the pain. It's so hard, also to speak up. He also like 33 some in his age, like around 33 or 35 and 30 anyway. And like I saw that he was crying, but he doesn't want to show it. So there is a problem like this, like I can't even solve it. I can speak for him, but I can help him. And this person needs help. Not this one only, but there are people, all people, even they need a small glass of for I don't know, like as for degree, I don't even know. I don't have the knowledge for it to explain, but he can't even see. Like he need like a glass, like for a degree. I don't know how what's called that, but they give an appointment of appointment, which will make him tired of it, and he doesn't want to wait anymore, and just he need to go somewhere, who's gonna help him anymore. But some of them, like also they have an like health issue. Uh, After tired of appointment, he tried to leave Malta illegally, and then they catch him in the airport, and he ended up in prison for 6 months. But in the first place, what's happened if this person has the access to the health? They would help him, like in the health thing, like they would. He's not be. It's not going to be like left. It's not going to be like this kind of situation. He's not would be included his life to this situation, but and there's a new rule to the, I think, for the new refugees, and like for the employment, I think something, because I saw it in Times of Malta, because if a person who applied for asylum seeker to be eligible for a work, you have to have living been like for 9 months. After 9 months would be eligible for work. But having said that, like in Marsa and Halfa Open Center, they will allow you to live in it for 1 year. And then it's like, if you have been like for 9 months, already have left 3 months, to live in Open Center with no money, without no incomes, nothing that have it like income is gonna be out. They will send you out. It doesn't matter if you have money or not, even though you don't even have like to get a rent without document, because to get a rent like you have to have like ID card. These people, they don't have ID card. and how they gonna rent even though they have find a job. It's very difficult for them, and it's like, I hope this will we're gonna solve them together if we are working for it. And I hope these people deserve it better. I don't have the fancy word, but I can explain just a little brief. That's they need these people, like more attention, not just not like a rule experiment. It's so silly, it's like how they gonna afford, for example, there are families, how they gonna afford for for their children's diaper and for meal and for clothes for their children, forget it about themselves. And it's very difficult. And also there are people who I know in Malta, it, and even at the moment you can't even manage to find a job in 3 months, not just to work. You can't even find the job in it like in 3 months. So most of them, the people, they ended up in the streets, sleeping in the street. It's just ruthless. It's making me very crazy, and I don't know how to gonna like acknowledge that, but because I have the experience, because I was underage, I came in it like because basically I live in the Salesian, which is in like in Slema. They help him for this Slema and Osana. It's called Osana Pia. They help young people in order who want to study for a better future. So I I've been living since there for I think for 3 years almost. So this helped me. But these people also need to study, but they can't. Even they want to study, but they can't because they don't have any help from the government, and because they need to pay rent, they need to have for their expenses, like the tools. They don't even have it. I know it's very expensive, to buy it for a laptop if you don't have an income is it's expensive and very difficult for them. And also the support, not just like, oh, you have an education or something, but there are also the mentally trauma, which is not, they don't even get over it. I think that like I talk a lot because I don't even it's just they let me know just right now, but I don't even prepare. But I I just talk whatever I know. But thank you for the opportunity, and if you have any question, I'm willing to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. I do have a question. You mentioned some issues that were faced, and you spoke a bit about homelessness. I just wanted to ask that once so there has been an increase in homelessness lately, mostly affecting migrants, and
Yeah.
I wanted to ask what once a person leaves the shelters, I wanted to ask you whether you can just speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, because not just because I'm also a member of the Spark 15. Maybe you heard before. There is called the Spark 15. It's like a group of people who can, like Spark 15 includes from different background of country, which is now could be Europe and Malta, and then some South Americans and Africans as well. I'm also been working with them there for 4 years, and also working with the Eritrean community. But and hearing the experience, from the immigrant, they will come onto Spark 15, the Eritrean community, and they will say that I basically came today morning just to translate for a person who was kicked out, from the open center, and then try to find a job. And I went with him to translate, and he was very difficult for him. He'd been living and like with some friends. Basically, if you have a friend, they will let you for some days, and then he would move to the other friend, and then you will live for some days. You notice what's happening if you don't get paid, and even you have a friend, but sometimes you feel this is, is not right. It's emotionally, you will think that it's not right. Someone's pay for me, and then I still sleep there, and I don't have even a job. And but this guy was like, he has not like become getting more depression. It leads him that like to something is not right about him even right now, which is I don't like to explain, but it does happen to him anyway. He's still struggling, to find not just a work, but a place to live. Not just a person. I know there are a lot of people who's struggling finding a house. Even it's funny enough, it's like I try to find a house for them, to rent with my name. But when I found this online, like when I get in, and because they saw me my color, which is my color, and they told me that they don't rent anymore, and they just refuse me. They shut down like in front of me, because it was not right, because like even there are more the immigrants, they pay more than the fees, which is not in order to find. Even the rent, if you rent, for example, 400 per month, and then after 6 months will the amount of money will increase to 450, and then I don't even know, I don't understand what this is happening. And even the government haven't noticed this, and for so long. And people even have the money, if the documents to rent, but there is no fair the payment of or the price of the rent. It's very difficult, at the moment. But I would like to speak that, like if we're working in like from different NGOs, like Spark, it could be like the African Association, African Media Association, and you guys, and there are also other NGOs. We came together and asked for it. It would be easy, and I think we're not gonna solve all the problems, but we can decrease some of the problems. We can solve a little bit, in order to just stretch our bodies. I think as I always talk about the Shara Bank, it's like Shara Bank is like open game, is everyone can contribute on it. So even Shara Bank, it will be easy, it's like to open like a Shara Bank, the platform, everyone can participate on it, or like in order to communicate the NGO, so how we can solve or how we can address our problems, so in order to solve it. So that would be better. So I think the homelessness, like still continue now even now is getting worse, because the new rule, which is not doesn't apply, it's not meant, which was so silly, and it's just to think that just after 9 months, and then you will kick out without nothing, then you have no place to live or to stay in. And as you know, now it's like even the corona, everyone's not even your friend, is afraid of you if you not tell if you don't have like access to the insurance, anything, or like the health care. I don't know. That's it's very. I found that very difficult. Even their friends also, it would be difficult for them. I don't blame them. Isn't it like? It's in the country, it's in the system, it is. And it, like, for example, what a brother, he mentioned that, like, education is, the basic key, to, in order to integrate with society. But, what I have to do in order to integrate the multi-society? This question was like, for me, it doesn't have been answered for a long time. What I have to do in order to integrate? If I try to learn their language, cultures, and their heritage, and like also communicating with them, like it could be I'm not, like perfect, to be like speaking Maltese, but I know how can I communicate or and get the person like with them. But doesn't mean like I can communicate with the Maltese person. That means like integrate. But according to like attending their conference, community like workshop, education system, and in the I don't know this I have done it like so since like 2016. But how do I have to do like what I have to do in order to integrate with my society? You can answer me that, wasn't it? Like I don't know that because it's not the question, but this is for the rest of the world. I would say that because like education is the basic thing, like because we have the lack knowledge of like English language, not just English language, but English language because it's second language of Maltese, so they use for to communicate. So that's why we use it in English and we to communicate. And these people they have a problem with English language, and then how they can address their problems and like acknowledge that or speak up for their basic rights. So if a person like Malta has offered them like to educate them, these people, and then they can stand up for themselves, or even give the translator. Like there is no enough translator in the open center on the immigration, which is they can translate them in like what they are thinking in their own language. But in this case, there is a lack of translators. They need more translators, not just like who can speak English, but have to have like more advanced in the language and others to translate what he's saying. There's just combination of like English and then talking together to the interviewers. But have to have like more advanced language. I would say that because these people they have also they affected them in their interviews. There are people who complain because I said this, but when they after you finish your interview, they will give you the brief of what he's saying. So when they read him, like in front of the person, or the person ended up that I don't say this, and like I have seen this kind of situation. So there was also like a lack of translator. So I would that like if the open center or the our system, for example, the refugee system anyway, they recognize that like include more translators who will be solving a little bit more. So people they will not ended up regret or I have this person ruin my life, and they wouldn't say that because I have seen people, oh this person is like ruined myself, like my interview, or he gave me the reject, and someone they said that because there is a lack of translator will say that, and if they recognize that would be better. Sorry, I talk a lot and so.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you so much and for sharing your experience in Malta. I actually have a question for you. So a person asked, and they thank you as well a lot for sharing your experience. A person asked if it is good for us, is it good, no, or they asked, it is good for us to learn of the difficulties that you face every day with regard to education. Did you find it difficult to join MCAS due to the cultural background? Are young migrants seeking opportunities in educational institutes, but do you find problems due to the different qualifications requested?
I think that I would say because yes and no, but depend because when I came in like in 2016, I was 17, and there was a little bit different in order to join any class. In class, they will give you an exam in order to, if you don't provide certificate, they will give you an exam for the course you are required. And so you have to score some. They will give you a percentage, like if you score that percentage, so they will give you the required course. So but at the moment, just they will give you because the standard of Africans and then the Europeans are a little bit different. They say are different, and you have to change, to the standard of the Europeans. So having said that, like they basically they give me an exam and I score more than they was the limit. So I just joined what they what for. I was in design and I graduated from art design, and like from art design I graphic design and transmedia. Because I always interested in graphic design and transmedia. So I like in terms of integrate with the student, with the lectures, it was difficult the first year because I was came from different background and culture, and a little bit it was a little bit different, in order to engage, like because I didn't even know even the language, which is Maltese, but I do know like the English, like I will communicate. So it was hard, like also to integrate with the student, how to communicate and to open conversation in language something. But apart from school, we don't communicate. But at the end of the year, we start communicating. They try asking me about myself, and then just we open up. But it was but and the graphic design we interactive at level 4 and level 5, and it was great. And the students are more open, and all are all my age, and I would say that they are more open than the older people. I would say that like I found that the young people are more open-minded the older generation. This is my basic experience, not just it's my opinion anyway. And also they try to know that like there is no difference like between between colors, and it doesn't matter what your color are, because uh, uh, um I will basically I'm gonna speak about my classmates. They're super nice because we try to communicate. Even they try ask uh, what about my background and history, and then no one asked me before, and then they tried to ask, and like they even told that I was living with my family in Malta, but and when I tell them the truth, but they shock, just oh, we saw that you're living with your family, but but I found it also when you finish, like to even to find a work placement, it's hard. Doesn't matter what qualification you have, but it just matters they will see your colors. That's it, and doesn't matter if it's colors. And I also found that like uh, we used to work in it. Like I don't have to mention the office or anything, but I was working as a graphic design and marketing, and also I found in are you working at the and down floor, and he was asking me anyway. There was a janitor who was cleaning to the corridor, but like he was asking me, "Are you the assistant of the corridor? Like who was the janitor?" No, I'm a graphic designer. And this guy was shocked, like he doesn't even expect that I'm a graphic designer or something. But like I found that like a little bit extreme, but I'm okay, because I understand. And he just based off the courage, because I'm tired of it, like I wish you can find a lot of people like that. So anyway, this doesn't like define me this, but it's like it will affect you. You don't even know it, but it will affect you emotionally. And I think this, is also, but now is super nice. But I'm not gonna talk, like I have a good experience with the Maltese or something. But I found the jobs, and I'm working since then for 2 years almost, and as a freelance graphic designer, I'm okay. But I didn't even know that's how can I integrate more to than I don't know how can integrate to the multi-city. I don't understand that. Even there is a lot of like we have communications in order to integrate. It's integrate, not like the topic is integrate, not like it's been for every conference, but there is no answer for it. I think that's not like sorry, I just talk a lot and sorry. And
it's okay.
Did they answer your question?
Yes, I think so. I think you did. Yes, thank you so much. I'm just checking if there are any more questions. I'm just checking.
Okay. Yes, Julia, I do have a question. Consideration, and first of all, thank you very much for your testimony. Real testimony that is one of the aim of the projects. Try to give to the wide public not some mystification or things that are not real, but properly the experience done by the people that live suffer this drama of the refugee centers, the travel, etc. So first of all, thank you very much indeed for your experience and to be here and to say something, say us this what you experienced and what you see. Just I won't really ask you, and I want a very quick reply. Of course, the European, the sovereignty of the management of the refugee, the flux, the migration of flux is on behalf of the member state, and they they don't want lost their sovereignty on this aspect, and the European Union has a limited range of action, if we can say that. But in really few words, because this is a project financed by the European Commissions, and what we try to do is also collect some suggestions, some different point of view, some opinions. In your personal opinion, what do you think European Union or through the European Commission should do to mitigate the drama that the refugees suffered under the management of the member state? Because for one, Italy, Greece, Spain, all of these countries manage the immigration according with their internal politics point of view. In really few words, what, in your opinion, the European Commission should do, should propose, should force the member state to do to mitigate the drama that thousands of people suffered and have been suffering in the Mediterranean?
Yeah, I think this is a big question because I can try to answer, but like as a big question for me, like but
just your opinion, just your opinion in few words. I know this is a huge question, but the first things that they should propose to the member state, to the European legislation. So the first things we have to do is this one, in your personal opinion, of course.
Okay, I think that the European Union, I think they should that, for example, like people they have been like even the I think 2 weeks ago or something, like 220 people they sent them back to Libya from the Mediterranean Sea. It wasn't like you said that like there is human rights, but there is no human right for the immigrants, and it's not right. You don't feel this is not right. And also there was like sending back like 12 people who was like in the Mediterranean Sea, which is now in the place of Malta, and was sent back to Libya, which is not they wasn't talking about it because just they covered, because no one talk about them. and who cares? Like no one care about them. I don't know if they ask someone, but like just they cover it. That's it, and no one about ask about them anymore. And it was like talking about 2 days, and then after 2 days it is expired, and which is not right. And if there is human right, like you have to have like also it's not just for animals, there are for if there is not like I saw that uh, not I'm against that, but like uh, they were not like abusing animals, and then they were asking for them, they investigate for so long, but not for those people. And what's wrong with us? Like we don't even care, sometimes, and like we just care our incomes or something, but we should care more about human being, and not just other things like your own experience. But if you are caring about basically the European Union, if they have a basic right, human's right, and they should follow that right, not just on paper, also in practice. Uh, so I also that, for example, in Malta, there is no education system which is not a person has to study or have to know the language in it. Like, there is no opportunity, to study. But if you wanted, yes, you can. But there is no support for it. And if a person has to study without no income, how can a person he can study without no income? How can he can apply for his expenses and his insurance for everything? So that wasn't like I'm repeating again, but uh, this could be get more attention from the Europeans Union. So in order to how we can solve this and to arrange, or they can solve this for, and the person so have the opportunity to study, and I know that it's not just for the government of Malta, but they also have to have like a push the European Union. They can push the government of Malta so in order to give them the opportunity in order to study. As and the brother, he was mentioning that from the African media, and he was education. Education is like the best key. So if the person like has the access to education, he will have like manage his time, and like and he lifestyle anyway. But also there are when a refugee came to Malta, apply uh, for asylum seeker, but there is no frame time. And for him, it's like, oh, you apply in June, and then you will be waiting for 6 months, and then will you get the answer, or for 9 months, or for 1 year. There is no frame time. A person who just waiting every morning if they're gonna call him for interview, but it's been for 3 years and without nothing, and no even interview. Even if he had interview without no answer or reply for it, and he's hoping if they're gonna call him tomorrow morning, but tomorrow morning it came and then ended up with like the sunrise gone, and then he's waiting for the next day. It's hoping. It's it's so silly, and this affects you emotionally and mentally, and also and physically as well, because sometimes like what like a paper is more expensive than the person. Like as a piece of paper is not just even just holding a, and like more expensive than the person, but citizenship can buy by money, because in Malta there is like there is no citizenship in Malta being allowed for the refugee, even you have refugee status or subsidiary protection or asylum seeker. But forget about asylum seeker, but there are states, another status, there are law. But because I'm subsidiary protection, but there are also refugee status. Uh, but there is no way they will get for citizenship. I don't know how, I don't know why, but we would like to consider that. We would like to the European Union to consider this problem also. Uh, Not because like I have heard that, because if I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me. Because Malta has been like citizens have been sold to the rich people, but not the immigrant. I don't know why. Because this is, I think, this, in my opinion, is not fair. So I think the European Union should consider this kind of a problem or issue.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Right.
We will now go to the next speaker, who is Mara Farrugia, who is the CEO of the Agency for the Welfare of Asylum Seekers. Before we begin, I would like to express our gratitude and appreciation for the work you are doing and also for accepting to speak in this conference. So a bit about our next speaker. After graduating in psychology from the University of Malta, he served in various roles, including residential service manager, day service manager, operations director, director of services and research, and CEO at Support, the agency of the Foundation for Social Welfare Services, which provides social services, including residential, day and community services to people with disabilities. He took over as CEO of the Agency for the Welfare of Asylum Seekers in January of 2019. Now, the function of AWAS, the Agency for the Welfare of Asylum Seekers, consists of the implementation of national legislation and policy concerning the welfare of refugees, persons enjoying international protection, and asylum seekers. So in practice, AWAS manages reception facilities, provides information programs in the area of employment, housing, health, welfare, and education, and promotes government schemes related to resettlement of voluntary returns. I will now give the floor to Mara Farrugia. Thank you.
Sorry, I think.
We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm talking on my own. I'm not talking on my own. Okay, hello, thank you for the opportunity. Sorry, but it's the first time I use this application, so I'm a bit green. Are you seeing the screen, my shared or the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, Mela, before starting, if you don't mind, I want to clear something up, to clarify something. The speaker before me, which was very interesting, spoke about the new policy that affects asylum seekers. Just to clarify a bit, that policy affects only those asylum seekers that come from safe countries, and also those asylum seekers who have come to Malta from other parts of Europe. So they had already lodged their application. And actually, this policy in the long run will help those people more that are entitled to international protection. Because, as you know, one of our difficulties when managing services is the huge influx of people that come to Malta. I mean, Malta is one of the highest per capita that in Europe. Issa. This, of course, we have to distinguish between those asylum seekers that, yes, they need, they're entitled to international protection and status. But also have a large number of people who come from safe countries and they are taking or resources pertaining to the previous category. Just to clear, the new policy will affect only those asylum seekers who come from safe countries. Mela, AWAS, Mela, thank you for the introduction. To be fair, you did it much better than me. I never thought I did so many things, but Awas has 5 core functions. Very, first of all, of course, the most common that people say is that the accommodation. But now, in the last 2 years, we also established what we call the well-being services. We have the specialized care services. I'm going to in the long run give a brief of each, and the communication and community relationships and relations, and of course the assessments. When we come to accommodation, AWAS runs the IRC Center, which is in Malta and in Marsa, and 4 other open centers. We have a minors residence in Dar el-Lidna, and we have the family center, HTV, of course, and the new center, which was previously, but we refurbished it and opened it last year, what we call the Hanger Open Center. There, of course, we provide residential services. We also offer what we call a per diem, which is a daily allowance, and also we provide food. Just to clear a previous point mentioned by Mr. Livingston, today all the agreements and all the paperwork when we deal with our clients, we do it through a system of translated material. So all our agreements, the person can choose up to 6 languages. I know it's not maybe enough, because of course, as we all know, in Africa there are more than 200 languages, but we provide a translated version of all our texts in 6 main languages, which are English, Arabic, French, Tigrinian, Somali, and Bangladeshi, and Bangla, sorry. So that, of course, will help us a lot in our communication with our clients. We also have a system of cultural mediators in our accommodation settings. Mela, in the centers, there are what we call now the well-being services. Mela, in 2020, we started establishing this system. Instead of 1 person running an open center, today we have 2 persons. One is in charge of the normal day-to-day running, and the other one is what we call a welfare coordinator. The welfare coordinator responsibility is to follow the well-being of the clients. This year, we introduced also, in the beginning of this HOC and HTV. This year, we started also a system, what we call of welfare officers, which deal and follow clients when it comes to hospital appointments. As I said, we have an on-call transport system for vulnerable people. When we have a person who, of course, needs either has mental health issues or other vulnerabilities, we have a system which offers transport 24/7. Of course, the person is always accompanied by either a social worker or a support worker. In 2019, we also introduced a system of reception facility officers. The role of the reception facility officers is to provide security, but we do it in a difference. In our centers, no security official is allowed to either have on him or use handcuffs, pepper sprays, or any other non-lethal material. We train our reception facility officers in de-escalation techniques. They do not just do security; they do other things in the center so that they are on constant contact with clients, and we try to keep to maintain a certain degree of security by using the power of dialogue. Then we have the specialized services. The specialized services have been, some of them have been mentioned. Of course, we have one of our backbones is the social work team. Today, we have a team of 10 social workers. If you tell me it's enough, no. But considering that we started with 3 in a couple of years, we tripled the team, and we are trying to get to recruit 6 additional more social workers, so that certain characteristics of certain welfare systems are followed by them. We also introduced the mental health therapeutic services, which is of course AIM funded. Therapeutic services has 2 parts. We do have an assessment system, but we also have what we call a specialized service. This is the service of counselors and a psychologist who all have been trained extensively, even abroad, and they have worked abroad in migration settings, and they offer a more therapeutic service to those clients who have more in need. Then we have what we call the intake and community system, which is head office. From here, we offer any kind of service that we offer in the centers twice a week, and people can come here, and even if they are asylum seekers and they live in the community, we can discuss their case with them, and we try to find a practical solution. The solutions are varied. It's not that, as it was mentioned, but I have to mention it, that after 9 months or after 6 months or after a year, we kick people out. It's not the case. Even when we offer what we call termination of service, the person can always come here, which of course a lot of people do. We discuss the situation, and if there is a problem, we accommodate. As it was when it was mentioned, when we had the difficulty, maybe last year, of people sleeping in Valletta. At the end of the day, they were all reaccommodated, and then they left. I mean, when quite soon, actually, soon later. Mela. We also have a new service, which is the UMAS Unaccompanied Minors Protection Service. This again started last year, and this is a dedicated team of social workers that follows exclusively unaccompanied minors. Issa, when the leader of the UMAS Protection Services also has a say on how the residents or the services are run for UMAS, and she can advocate for the rights of unaccompanied minors. We have also the communication and community relations team. This started operating end of last year. Basically, one principal aspect is the new service, which is the Migrants Advice Unit. This is a team comprising of about 15 individuals. We have six interpreters and 6 info providers. They work together to provide information about culture, health, asylum procedure, job seeking, and education. Yes, I admit that in Malta, education is one of the sore points. And there definitely, when I say education, even language provision, there needs to be much more input from all the entities, from all the national entities. Please keep in mind that AWAS is not the main entity. It is a main entity working from asylum seeking, but although we diversified a lot in our service provision, we don't have the competencies to deal with every issue that deal with asylum seekers. Therefore, we would need the help of other entities. Sorry. Of course, NGOs, international organizations, and communities. We have to have a very strong relationship with them. Right now, we have an excellent relationship with the Sudanese community. I hope we can establish such thing also with the Eritrean community. And when it comes to these systems, it helps a lot because we can follow even individual clients that maybe escaped our attention. We do offer language courses through the help of NGOs and UNHCR. NGOs, how can I say, very NGOs do a lot of work as well in our centers and are of a very important importance. Lastly, sorry, now a bit. Lastly, we have what we call the assessment teams. The assessment teams are what we usually refer what is called when we establish the age assessment. Here I want to clarify something. We age assess only those people that we have doubt about their age. So if a boy comes of 12, assess those people who we have doubt for. This year, we also started working with EASO regarding age assessments, and we are currently upgrading the whole procedure system and also content together with EASO. Another assessment that is carried out by therapeutic teams are mental health assessments. These people on a voluntary basis from the part of the client, they can assess people for PTSD, anxiety, and depression. That we use standardized tests, and then from there we either refer to other teams or else we refer to the specialized therapeutic services. Right now, we also partnered with EASO in doing vulnerable assessments. So we have a system in nearly every center, and even our presence also in detention services, where we screen people for vulnerabilities, or at least those invisible vulnerabilities. And of course, we do this together with EASO. Added value. In the last 2 years, we also established what we call the quality assurance team. The quality assurance team has started operating very recently, will be in charge of handling the complaint system, and also will be in charge of doing internal audits within our services. Of course, we will use international guidelines as our focus, but of course, we will start again changing our current systems to offer a better service. And of course, we have also the staff training and development. This is the main role of this department is actually to keep all our staff informed and trained. Challenges, numbers. Right now the situation is it's much better, but of course, when you have large numbers arriving, it's difficult. Malta has increased its reception capacity by nearly 40%. We're not talking about a small number, but of course, if more people keep arriving, and not all of them, and people come from safe countries, then that will delay further the process. Of course, COVID-19 was a big challenge, but I can say that in these last 2 years, or year and a half, I think we tackled the situation quite well. And in fact, from our my population clients, we had no deaths, no severe hospitalizations. From our part, I mean, we took action immediately and on the whole control situation quite well. Keeping in mind that the lack of documentation that asylum seekers come with and the verification of information, this is difficult, this is a challenge, because you always have in doubt, even for example, when you assess someone, is he saying the truth? I am taking the right decision. Are we taking the benefit of the doubt? In that case, yes, it is a big challenge. It is a big challenge, and although we have introduced protocols to keep ourselves in check, we still have the challenge. Of course, another big challenge is, of course, the relocation system. From my experience, people come to Malta also to try to relocate themselves to other EU member states. Currently, the relocation system is on voluntary basis. The member states decides if he wants to enter to offer relocation, or else if how many and the procedure. So that is a big challenge. Thank you very much. From my part, I don't know if you have any questions. I am over. Let me speak. I have to close the mic, it's better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We actually do have a question. It is, we all know that European solidarity amongst member states in this field is lacking. The effects of large numbers of migrants arriving in Malta with its high population density are obviously much more serious than the same arrivals in other larger EU member states. We have often spoken of mechanisms to resolve these problems, but these remain on paper. Do you see a solution to this problem at the international level?
Personally speaking, as Mauro Farrugia, who had worked in the past 2 years in migration, which is not very a lot. But I think a solution would be that we start actually the process in Africa. We don't wait for people to come, but actually ideally the situation in Africa is solved. Even we can still, I'm not telling that I mean, let me maybe rephrase it a bit, that basically we don't force people to make the sea journey. We create a safe channel of transport for those people who have a right to benefit. This is maybe where I don't agree with a lot of people. We see some people tend to see migration from a point of view that everyone has to be entitled, and everyone, even those people who maybe want to find a better job or a better economic conditions. Unfortunately, it's not the case, and the more people cross, the less services, the less manpower you can invest on those who really need it. So maybe in the future, if the solution, if the registration, if the asylum procedure actually starts from Africa, maybe Libya or maybe another country, I think it will be better. At least less people will, people will still try to cross, because then you are eliminating those people who come from safe countries. But at least, I mean, you can mitigate a bit better the situation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation and for answering the question. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, can I ask just a little question? Because I think you will be the right person, to ask some questions of what's I think for. And you said that, like for the people who came from the safe country, the new rule, what I'm saying that is the new rules applies to for the people who came from the safe country, but it's basically it's affected for all of the immigrant, which is the all of the immigrant who's living in Halfa Open Center, and if they haven't been here for 9 months, and it's affect them. I don't know. It's in the paper. It says that, but in practice, it says that they don't allow them even to find a job. I found a job for them before 2 weeks ago, and they told them that after you would be if you came after 9 months, it would be better. And the employee said that the employer said that like if you came after 9 months, that would be better, and in order to accept you, even you have left 2 months in order to be 9 months. So the person he'd been at like for 6 months, so no, for 7 months, so he has left 2 months in order to be eligible for the work. So I don't know, that is in the paper, but in practice, I think it's not working. I think I would like to answer that in your. I would like to listen to you for the answer. Maybe you can explain a little bit more.
All right, Mela. No, the information I have, this is not something that we were involved or anything, but of course we were provided some information. The information I have states clearly that this applies only to those asylum seekers originating from safe countries, failed asylum seekers, and asylum seekers who were channeled into the Dublin procedure. Those people, the last point is those people, for example, coming from Italy or coming from another member state, and there was no official transfer. Because if there was a transfer, yes, that they are eligible. I also employ, as CEO of ours also, part of the staff are actually asylum seekers. And we had no difficulty in renewing the job permit and the job contract. Actually, I think it's more. I will speak I think I will speak. As ours shall speak with Job Plus to make sure that proper information is issued, because the legislation is very clearly that it affects only those people coming from safe countries. Safe countries, it's the International Protection Agency which establishes, but usually people coming from Africa, speaking Lower Africa, I mean, they're not considered safe. Those people who will get a temporary humanitarian status or a refugee status should not affect them. That's also those asylum seekers coming from those countries. But I will speak to Jobless. Maybe they need to put a bit of more information regarding to employers. But as I told you, I employ asylum seekers. We have a number of very valued staff, and there was no problem right now.
Okay. I have another question, maybe 3 more, if you okay with you. Sorry.
For me, it's okay.
Because you said that like you have a place for underage, which is like Dar Ladina. Because I know it because I used to live there, and it was great though. But now I found a bunch like more than 50 and even more. underage being like sent to open center Halfa, which is with the rest of the population. So I don't know how these people are gonna manage if they are underage, but they still need to place.
Mela. In Halfar, we have two. Mela, in Halfar HTV, we have the center is divided into three parts. Mela. We have what we call an enclosed center, which is in the past there used to be families living there. We accommodate minors over usually late 16, 17. Okay. Then we have another section there. Issa, the enclosed space in HTV, of course, it's covered by walls. There are professionals working there. People, it's an open center, so people can go in and out as they want. There are services there, and also there was staff placed there to keep an eye on the minors. That is. Then we have another section for alleged minors. Okay, so because the problem is this, the challenges is this that we face. Mela, first of all, of course, as I said, the numbers. Last year not last year, lately I've been in a conference with some other member states, and Norway was saying that, listen, last year we had 89 people claiming to be minors. In my heart, I said good, because last year we had 620 people in Malta arriving in Malta and claiming to be minors. Of course, you cannot compare Malta with Norway, like in size and resources. So the problem is this, Mela. If those people, Mela, in those people that allege to be minors, not all of them are actual minors. And I'm sure you will know, I'm sure everyone knows. If you place those people with actual minors, then there is a problem. So we try as much as possible to separate everything. So thus, Dar il-liedna is for young minors, Mela. When I say young minors, 15 to 16, okay? Sometimes 14 may go in. Under 14, we refer them to the Children's Agency, which is Appoġġ and Child Protection. We try to either family unify those minors who are young immediately, or else we send them to more appropriate residential settings. Even we explore fostering. So Dar il-liedna is for then that there is Dar il-liedna, which is 14 to 16, even 17. Ġifiri, once you go to Dar il-liedna, you will go out from Dar il-liedna at 17 plus. And then we have the enclosed center for minors in HTV, and we have another area we call it buffer zone for alleged minors in HTV. I hope you answered your question. Next one.
Okay, I think that was okay. And I also that you said that you provide, yes, I know that because I also used to live there, and you provide some food and for the open center within Halfa and for the immigrants anyway, and also language. And like I'm talking about the food, sometimes like there are who's going to be fasting, but also doesn't want, like there are some vegetarians, and there are also some like I basically have the experience that like I'm Orthodox, which is we have fasting for 40 days, and then you don't eat meat and anything from apart from that, even fish you don't even eat. Also, just gonna eat like we call it shrub and some of food, which is not just vegetables, fruits, and so apart because in open center they will not allow you to cook something. To cook. So there is no even the tools in order, to cook something, like to prepare a meal for you, for ourselves. So how can this problem gonna solve if you're not allowed, in order to cook or to get food from outside? And there are also language. For example, there is they need language, but very basic language, but it's not enough. Also, for example, in the Eritrean community, we have RC and the community and the Spark 15, we provide English, basic English. Also, we have Sparkleton with the Integra, they prepare like for the IELTS English, which link you to the university in order to study. But for the basic English, we have sort of lecture or teacher. I would say that teachers or to give, because we don't have the income to pay for the teachers, but we need voluntary. So how you can help us in order to find the teachers, like to give the student, like out, or who's willing to give like their time in order to teach the student.
Mela, let me start with the food. Mela, yes,
Okay.
in certain centers, the people cannot cook, and unfortunately we had to do it to this because of course of safety reasons. We conducted a number of risk assessments and said, listen, here there is a risk, but I must also say that in certain centers, there are actual kitchens and people do cook. In family centers, there are definitely a number of kitchens, not there's definitely. People do cook, and also parts of the family centers in HOC. That is one thing. But when it comes to fasting and things like that, of course, we try to take certain things. We take it up with the person, the contractor providing the food. I'm not saying that we always are successful, but we have a new tender coming into action soon, and in our tender we included also food for fasting for all conditions, and also a more specialized and more culturally food. Issa, the last question was about
Language.
No, we can discuss. I cannot give an answer right now, right here. I have to see what you have in mind. Why not? We set a meeting, and we can. I'm sure we can help out. Yes, as I said, the issue of language is very important. It's something that, education-wise, is something that we still have to work hard on it as a nation, because yes, I believe as even I think the previous, not your counsel, but Mr. Lim also said that yes, we should start giving language information, language courses as soon as the people arrive on Malta. That is 100% what I believe as well. And yeah, why not? We should find a solution.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, but I hope you will be like, I think you are the right person to ask. If you are, I hope you will be, if you're willing, to join us. Our I think conference will be soon, and it's like after 2 weeks ago. After, I don't know, after 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, it will be a conference about some NGOs, which will be, if you are willing, like to attend with it, I will be flattered, try to invite you, so you would be the right person to ask. I also one question, it's like the last question. For example, there are not like relocation system, and from Malta to go somewhere, and like in Malta, they recreated the immigrant to somewhere, and like in Europe. I don't know if I'm right, but like once, for example, I have been for 5 years, and there is no opportunity, to relocate myself. But and what is there is opportunity, what is any new thing, like an opportunity, people like me relocate another countries? Is there any opportunity? I don't
As
know
I
if you
said,
understand my question.
yes, as I said in my previous previous presentation, unfortunately,
Yeah.
the relocation system is very much voluntary on the part of the European member states, and that is one of course, of the main problems, I would say, not challenge, that usually what happens, relocation is kicked in when there is a big boat, probably from an NGO, the boat is locked at sea, and no one wants to have the boat come in a report unless the other member states will agree to take some of the people. Again, then there's what is basically relocation. Again, it's not something immediate. Some member states do their part immediately. If in a couple of months, the people are interviewed and travel to that member state. But in most cases, that relocation process takes years, takes months or years. And again, it's not something that the person wants to. It's the member states that has to agree, has to decide, and basically that is one of the problems of the famous burden sharing with two member states. That only a number of countries offer to have people relocated to.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I think I will give to the others and their not like to ask. Sorry, because I asked a lot of questions. And thank you.
I have a question, one or two.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation and information. I've actually gotten a lot from you directly, and I want to appreciate you for that. First question, we are in the middle of the pandemic, the COVID-19, and there is the rolling down of the vaccine, which is going on all over the world. And my question now concerning this one, I don't know if it's an answer or a comment. I would expect, I want to maybe hear from you. Is what before one takes vaccine, and I think it's a voluntary thing. It's not a compulsory to everybody, not only to the migrants, even the Europeans. Some people want it, some don't want. For example, me, I took it because I know the importance. Now, do we have this dissemination process, trying to inform them about this vaccine and also trying to seek the consent of these migrants? At the same time, in Malta, for you to get the vaccine, you must have the the identity number, A or M. Now with the migrants, now you mentioned that one of the biggest challenges you have is, one of them is the documentation. Now, how will these people access the vaccine now that they don't have this proper documentation? How are we going to know that who has been vaccinated and who has not been vaccinated? And what is in place to ensure that everybody gets the vaccine, as it is of great public concern, not only to the migrants, general public, because it's health matters. Thank you.
All right, Mela, thank you for your question. To be fair, the health authorities are the most entity that can answer this question. But I can tell you from the open centers, Mela. Yes, we had an information session, a number of information sessions and materials before launching our vaccine campaign. The information material was provided to us thanks to the collaboration that we have with UNHCR. Again, the material was translated into those 6 languages, and we started the campaign a couple of months ago, actually, so that we prepare enough the people. Last week, we started actually giving out vaccines in our centers.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that there is a problem with the ID and the A, but for our clients living in our centers, health has devised a system so that they can receive the vaccine and have the proper documentation. This started last Monday, and we already have vaccinated over 500 people in the past week. This is a collaboration between us, Red Cross, and Health. Next step is to hopefully, but Health has to decide on this, is those asylum seekers and migrants living in the community. Ours has a lot of presence in the community, and of course, we will help. But right now, we still are waiting a bit from the health authorities. But I think that is the health rationale is to vaccinate as much people as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for that. At least you have answered. Lastly, I want to agree to what Captain was talking about. The question directly is on the issue of education, because, you know, an ignorant society is where we don't have literate people, when we don't educate people. And I'm very sure that we have so many young people, and especially those who are living in open centers, they don't have education, in particular the language course, because it should be, you know, the responsibility of the institution in which they are housing them to push them to, you know, towards acquiring the basic skills. So I don't know if you have this in place, like it should be a must thing that once we recruit you, or once we house you, you have to, you know, follow the language codes. And, you know, we don't have proper enough personnel features in this aspect. It's only some of the, you know, NGOs try to offer the English languages. So what is the plan? I mean, because you say that since from last year you have adapted, you have done drastic changes and you know, developments, which is a very good step towards, you know, further improvement. So the issue is the issue of the education, because if we don't educate these people, history will judge us harshly. You know, when we leave these people to, you know, to just stay without acquiring the needed skills. So I don't know the plans you have. Thanks.
Well, yes, definitely. Oh, Jeffrey, yes. And I wished, as you said, that listen, language acquisition becomes an obligatory issue. That if you are going to apply, I mean, for asylum and for protection in Malta, yeah, you should. One of the first things that you should do is to learn either Maltese or English. Unfortunately, last year we also had COVID, which prevented us a lot from, of course, meetings, and actual NGOs had to stop, some NGOs had to stop their services because of social distancing and things like that. But a good opportunity that we had was actually that we introduced internet in all our centers. Again, internet is there, but I cannot say that it is the internet is up to my standard, because of course we are talking about a number of internet ports shared by 700, 800 people. And it is difficult, but unfortunately the current infrastructure of Malta when it comes to internet is a bit lacking, so that we have to improve on that. But again, education, there are plans. There have been discussions with the migration learning unit and the other entities. Unfortunately it's a slow process, because teachers who want to work in this sector are not that readily available. It's difficult, and not everyone can provide an English or a Maltese course. I mean, you have to be qualified. So yeah, it's something that we are embarking on, but right now I cannot give deadlines or another. It's something that, but I can say that it's something that we believe in, and we're working towards it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the speakers and for all the questions and the answers. Thank you. And I would like to give the floor to Daniele for the end remarks.
Thank you very much, Julia. Thank you very much indeed to all the speakers. I really appreciate again the work done from Julia and the staff that take care about the organization of this event, because even this time they offered a really interesting debate, perfectly in line with the project objectives. And thank you, really thank you also to the speakers that animated the debate, and we hope that through our project, through our event, we give them the chance also to have a useful debate among them, among also for the local situation in Malta and related, of course, the refugees aspect. And also, I think and I hope that the international participants to this event had the chance also to better understand some aspect related to Malta. So I think that the event matched perfectly with our project scope. So really, I personally really appreciate the debates, the intervenes, and thank you again to all. See you for the next event in Caltagirone. The closing event will be more sort of wrap up of the project, the results achieved, and we hope also that this opportunity, this project, even if implemented virtually, gives us the chance to work together in future to the forthcoming Euro for Citizens program, and maybe we have the chance also to organize some activities physically and visit directly the refugee centers, meet each other, and try to work better together physically. So thank you very much indeed again. Thank you, Julia, again. Thank you to Jesmond and all the speakers and participants. See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Mm.